Angelo Valente is the Chief Executive Officer of the American Medicine Chest Challenge. Good to see you, Angelo.
Good to see you, Steve.
Welcome, Angelo.
Thank
For
you.
those of you who do not know what the American Medicine Chest Challenge is, Angelo's about to tell us this because it's a very important initiative. The website will be up throughout the program, and there is action you're going to need to take.
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here today. The American Medicine Chest Challenge was started right here in New Jersey, and it was an opportunity to bring to the public how important it is for them to take action steps on how to protect their children from prescription drug abuse. And the reason for that is that prescription drug abuse has reached epidemic levels. In fact, last year, the Surgeon General designated prescription drug abuse as an epidemic throughout the country. Each day, unfortunately, 40 young people die of prescription drug abuse. And over 5,000 young people experiment for the first time with prescription drug abuse.
Let's add another fact here. 70% of the people who abuse prescription drugs, the pain relievers, prescription drug pain relievers, excuse me, obtain them from friends or relatives. What's up with that?
Well, that's really the biggest issue that we're all facing, is the access that young kids have to prescription drugs.
And by the way, Angelo, are we only talking about young kids or mostly young kids?
I would say that the focus of our campaign is for parents of children between middle school and high school.
That's your target parents?
That's our target
Yeah.
parents, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the first age of experimentation.
So,
And what drugs are we talking about?
Well, it varies, but certainly drugs like Oxycontin, Oxycontin, Ritalin. But in some cases, you have young people that are experimenting with drugs that they have no idea exactly what the drug is. They'll go into a medicine cabinet, they'll reach for something, they'll bring it to a party, and it's called a bowling party. They mix the drugs from all the different medicine cabinets together and wait for a reaction.
And when did this epidemic begin to explode?
Well, actually, in New Jersey, we've been very proactive over the last 5 or 6 years. Prior to the national effort being put in place, we understood this was a major issue, and we knew so by our treatment providers in the state. They came to us and during discussions and talked about the issue of heroin abuse. But every issue, every example of a child that was in a treatment facility for heroin abuse started with prescription drugs.
Gateway.
The gateway drug, without a doubt. The other issue about prescription drugs is there was a misperception that because these drugs are prescribed by doctors, because they were legal, my grandmother takes it, my mom takes it, everyone's fine, everyone's safe. You know, that it's not going to be a threatening.
But you know, but Angelo, the problem I see here that's not talked about enough is, it seems like the explosion of the abuse of these prescription drugs started when prescription drugs began to be prescribed to almost everybody, including young kids. You mentioned Ritalin. Maybe there's a connection between this American practice of prescribing these things to kids and to everybody in the world and the explosion of its abuse.
Well, there's no question that we need to work with the medical community to make sure they prescribe drugs as needed. And I know that there have been several incidences over the last several years where the medical community is looking at that particular issue and coming up with ways in which they can avoid that. For example, prescribing a lesser amount
Sure.
For patients.
let's just say this. Raphael raises a good question about the reasons for, the complex reasons for, but let's do this. With the website up, Angela, let's go through some of the specific recommendations, because as you go through the website, you'll see more detailed explanations as to what the tips, concrete practical tips. That's why Capital Report is in business to help you in this regard. A, secure your medicine chest. Secure, what does that mean?
Well,
a
it means,
lock?
Well, it could be a lock. It could be putting them into an area where children don't have access to. It could be in a bedroom. It doesn't have to be in a kitchen. Sometimes we leave our medicines on the kitchen counter.
No more of that.
Absolutely not.
Next, take inventory of your prescription and over-the-counter medicine. Are we saying that most parents don't even know what they have and don't have?
I bet you if both of you went into your medicine cabinets, because I know I did this when we first got started, we would be surprised at the medicines
You know,
that
I
we have
went
in
to
a
my
medicine.
medicine cabinet yesterday as a result of getting prepared for this. And you're right, I was surprised.
There's stuff we don't know.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What, by the way,
Dispose of it.
define get rid of it.
We suggest that they dispose safely, and there are many ways to do that. First, they can do it at home. There are ways in which you could safely dispose right in your own home, and that's just diluting the medicine in a plastic bag with water and then adding coffee grinds or cat litter.
But why go through all that trouble? Why can't you just dump it in the toilet?
Well, Ralph, let me just say this. We're going to have Bob Iaculo from United Water. They're involved in an initiative with a group of pharmaceutical professionals across the country. They're saying, you dump it down the toilet, it winds up in the waterways, and we've got problems.
Is it really?
I didn't
is
even
it
know
much?
that would happen.
Really?
There are many.
So that's a no-no. Don't dump it.
We don't recommend anyone dump in the toilet for that purpose. For
That is the
reason.
danger, and we
That-
didn't know that. I thought you could dump, and
Sure.
apparently you can't. Let's do this one. This was an interesting one. Take your medicine exactly as prescribed, and then what?
Well, the reason we mention that as one of the tips is that people too often want to share their medicine. At a goodwill. They have a
No,
neighbor,
right.
a friend, a relative.
I have to say
who's
that's
ill.
happened in my family.
Yes, and we don't recommend that because we think medicines are prescribed to an individual with a doctor who understands their medical conditions and circumstances, and we don't think that anyone should be sharing any medicine.
And the last recommendation that we have here, and there are many more on the website, talk to your children directly, candidly about the dangers of prescription drug abuse, because you say they are listening. How do we know they're listening?
Well, we know they're listening because we know they're aware of this issue, as in drugs in general. 20 years ago, when we first started the Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey, we started to speak to children in the 3rd grade. And we developed a program called the 3rd Grade Contract for a Healthy Life. And the first several years, we had a lot of resistance because school administrators and parents thought they were too early, too young of a child.
Not
to-
age appropriate.
Exactly. Well, what we learned over the last 20 years is that you have to start early, and you have to continue to have those dialogues and those conversations, because research and after research project has proven that the more communications between a parent and a child, the less likely that
Talk to
child
them.
is to experiment.
Angela, you have an open invitation. This is an important issue. Capital Report is here. We'll
Thank you.
monitor the progress because we're all in this together. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you very
Angela,
much.
thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Shifting gears in a moment of conversation.